The book itself, The Last Albatross, it is a thriller. I think it's a little bit more, well, it's a lot more relevant to our times than a lot of the other thrillers we see around at the moment, like the 1001st, the thriller about serial killers, and the 500th techno thriller about war between the Arabs and the West, or the Chinese and the West, or the Russians and the West. It's a world that's very similar to our own, about 10 years' time, so around about 2020. But it's a world where basically all the best endeavours to stop global warming have failed, and climate is rapidly starting to get out of control. One of the consequences of this is there are a lot of embittered greenies around, and the key to the whole book is a guy called Hercus Barges, who is a very embittered greenie. He is sort of a conservationist from way back, loves the albatross, which is an endangered species now and is sort of becoming extinct at the time of the book. And he comes to believe that the only way to save the planet is to eradicate humanity from it. Global warming hasn't been used much in fiction. Don't know why. In fact, there's not a lot of fiction that really deals with major environmental issues. But for me, the problems that catastrophic climate change throw up were fantastic ideas and sort of great settings to write a really dramatic series of books. I wasn't trying to create a fantasy-like scientific fiction universe, but essentially to create an Earth in 2020 that had grown directly out of what we see in the world today. The environment, the sort of the business cycle, the concerns of ordinary people about their ordinary lives. The Last Albatross is a more down-to-earth thriller because it has the two protagonists, the heroine Gemma and her husband Rin, are really, they're the last people you would think of as being the heroes of thrillers. Rin's a scientist. He's been involved in working out how the ice caps in Antarctica are collapsing, and he's very worried about that. And he's an obsessive kind of scientist, so he's not really worried about anything else much but his job. And so it's Gemma who is really sort of thrown into the thick of the action in this story. And Gemma is a small, quiet woman whose idea of a good time is lying on the lounge eating chocolate. So she's not a woman of action at all. They're trying for a family. That's what's most important to her. Yeah, this series has had an unusual history. I originally wrote it in '99, and The Last Albatross was published in the year 2000. And the two books after that published in the next few years. But this year I got the chance to completely revise and update these books. They'd been out of print, and now they've come back into print. And it's an opportunity that writers don't often have. And I guess often, if your book does come back into print, you don't ever get the chance to update it. So it was a fantastic opportunity for me, and it was really interesting to look at the book that I'd written 10 years ago when I'd only written 4 or 5 books, and now I've written 21. So I have a lot more writing experience. The world has moved on. For example, when I wrote the books, they dealt with global warming and climate change, but there was profound scepticism in the world about those issues, and lots of big companies actually had a vested interest in dismissing or poo-pooing any kind of scientific evidence about global warming. There isn't really a lot of disagreement about the science of global warming anymore. So it was very interesting to me, because I've always been interested in science, to actually go back, do some more research on how that issue has changed over the last 10 years, and then rewrite the book from basically from start to finish, to I guess to de-emphasise some issues which were no longer relevant, bring everything up to date, and bring out some issues with climate change, particularly sea level rise, much more. So I think I made nearly 5,000 changes to the original book of the year 2000, and also cut maybe 20 or 30 pages out. And as a writer, there is no more thrilling feeling than to sort of brutally hack out pages of your deathless prose that you no longer feel is actually doing the job that it ought to. Personally, I think as soon as you start writing a book or a work of fiction at any rate, as soon as you start writing a work of fiction with the intention of browbeating other people with your own personal views, that is the death of good fiction. And at heart, or utterly in fact, my sole purpose in writing this book is to write a great and entertaining story.